one of the guys that you were most excited about interviewing was Rocket Richard.
Oh yeah, the Rocket. I would never forget the time, my one and only game in the National Hockey League. I sit there in the dressing room like a rookie and keep my mouth shut. And I remember Milt Schmidt was the coach, and he says, "Look, we're going to line up and honor. They're going to honor Rocket Richard and Bernie Jeffrey. And Al Lako who had a fight with him the time before and hit over the head by the Rocket, I guess. And he just went nuts. He throws sticks. I thought, this happened in the National Hockey League all the time. And sure enough, and I'll never forget it, I was standing at the blue line, and he started me, which was pretty good, first game and everything. And they brought in the Rocket, and they brought the house down. He was second in the scoring. And Bernie Jeffrey who I think he got an iron or something. I don't forget what he got, iron or something. So then Bernie Jeffrey they booed him. He won the scoring championship, and he went down because the people really wanted the Rocket to win his one and only chance to win the scoring title, and Bernie beat him. And I never forgot, they booed the Bernie Jeffrey, boom boom, and they cheered the Rocket. They loved the Rocket. And Ron McLean and I know I'm getting on a tangent here, but I remember Ron McLean and I went to his funeral, and we drove up from Philadelphia. I think it was Pittsburgh and Philly were in the finals, and we drove up, and I never forgot this. The Cardinal, we have a big, beautiful church and everything. We were sitting up there. The Cardinal was said, "I want the Rocket to go out." That kind of getting choked up here, but I never forgot. He said, "I want the Rockets cheering. I want you people to cheer as his coffin goes out." And they were going, "Vive la Rocket, vive la Rocket." It was unbelievable, and I never heard of a guy in a funeral, and they were cheering as he went out. The Rocket was really something. I could tell you more stories about him, but he was. And we had him on, and boy, he was. I thought, I'm going to have trouble with this guy, because he did not. I have to say, he did not. Was not too happy. He come on, but he had a friend with him, and we told him the questions before, and he could see that we weren't out to get him or something. I don't know, but you talked to the chap before in Grapevine.
Yeah, I talked to the guy that was with him. It was a friend of his, and he said the Rocket really enjoyed himself, and he was one of the few times that he did a sat down interview. He says, I don't ever think he ever really sat down and did a long interview, especially in English, right? And
he come in, you could see, and boy, he had a way about him. He walked around. He walked like very straight. And it
was almost like royalty when he walked in.
Like it was a king. He should have been king, and he felt that he was better. He could just see. He knew he was Rocket Richard.
Yeah.
He was great.
But he was nice. He shook everybody's hand, and he went down and he signed autographs with everybody and stuff like that. But you really did feel there was this.
There's something about him.
Yeah.
He had a royalty about him, and he was a little suspicious, but I think when you got him aside and said, "This is the questions we're going to ask," usually in an interview with the Rocket or with anybody, and with me, what they do is, and I've been interviewed 9 billion times, is that they ask good questions. They say, "This is the questions," and at the end, when they've got everything, they hit you with a killer. Yep. And he thought. And he said, I think you explained to him, we're not going to do that. We're here to have a good time.
Yeah. Well, let's hear from the Rocket now. This is from our Grapevine show. It was around 1984. And he talks about the whole incident with Hal Lako, as you say, and then what happened there, and him getting suspended. And then
he got suspended for the playoffs.
Yeah, he talks about that. And then he goes into detail about the Rocket Richard riots in Montreal.
Well, listen, I know that Hal Lako, as an old hockey player, is not one of your favorites when you play.
Don't talk about Lako. Come on.
Just so we're having fun, eh? No, but I was there when the time and when you come back that time, and I remember you were suspended. I remember in the paper you had a great big cut on your head too. Well, just tell us about it, just quickly. You don't have to.
Well, quickly, Lako hit me over the head, and I turned. The play kept going, and I came back at him, and I tried to swing at him, not with my stick, but when I saw the blood, that's when I saw the blood. Yeah. And I had the linesman, a guy by the name of Thompson. He was holding me from behind.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Three times I had to get rid of him.
Yeah.
The third time I turned around and I hit the linesman. You know where, right?
Yeah, I know. Got $2,500, $1,000 peace bond, I think it was. Suspend you for the rest of the season in the playoffs.
Rest of the season, there was only 3 games
Yeah.
left. And I think the playoff was a bad suspension. I think I should have been suspended for the following season.
Yeah, that's what they do now. Like they don't go in the playoffs.
That's right.
The riot after you got suspended was really something. Tell us about that.
Well, the riot, I didn't like it. No doubt about that. When I went in the forum that night, we were playing against Detroit Red Wings, and I went to sit right behind the goalie there, right behind the net. And after 3 minutes, was after the first period. Somebody threw a bomb, and that was right beside Mr. Campbell and his wife at the time. And when we came out, Mr. Campbell came in the medical room there where Bill Head was, and I tried to talk to Mr. Campbell, but I was with the president of the police in Montreal.
Oh, yeah.
And he grabbed me. He says, "Never mind, don't talk to him." So.
And then they had a riot after.
The riot I didn't see because I stayed in the medical room.
You had to go on the radio and tell them to stop.
Well, I went
just
on,
like the Pope.
Just like I went on the radio the next morning and told the people that I was going to take all the blame and take my punition, and I was asking to stop everything. So everything was quiet after that.
You know, there were so many stories that I've heard about the Rocket, and I mean, they talk about guys holding and everything. These guys used to sit on him, and he was a left winger, and he loved playing the right wing. And he said when he cut to the in, he had the whole, well, sort of like McDavid does. Like when he cuts to the left, he comes down that right side. He's got the whole net. So anyhow, this guy played for New York. His name was Bob Dill, and he was a tough guy, but the Rocket was tougher. So they had a fight. He knocked him down, and Bob Dill, you know, in front of everybody, he said, so the next time out, they had another fight, and he knocked him down again. And they come out again, and he knocked him down again. And the headlines of the next day was, the Rocket and Bob Dill had a fight, and Dill pickled. I thought that was always the best one. The Rocket was a great guy. He could put him in, and he could throw him too.
Yeah, no, and you could see even at the Grapevine show that those cold black eyes.
Yeah,
right? He like eyes like a shark almost.
Yeah, he like, and I remember the picture. Quaker Oats. We used to have. We used to get some great pictures, boy. And I'll tell you, boy. And he put up with an awful lot of abuse. I remember the time Leo Labine knocked him cold. He was cutting in behind Leo. He used to be like Scott Stevens, come behind the defense and knocked him cold. And they brought him in the dressing room, and he was knocked out. And he went back out, and the blood was streaming down him. There's a great picture of him and Sugar Jim Henry, and they shook hands, and he got the winner. And he doesn't remember one bit about scoring the goal. He was knocked out. I mean, he could go on and on about the Rocket, but he was fantastic. They named it right when they said the Rocket.
Right, for sure.